Good morning and welcome all to Hear Me, See Me, the 2021 Equity in Missouri Higher Education Summit. My name is Sarah Salmon, Senior Research Analyst with the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development.
And my name is Sam Bajak, Senior Research Analyst with the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. Sarah and I are co-planners of this year's event, and we're this year's MCs. We are live via WebEx meeting presenting this year's summit. This is the third year our department has hosted an equity summit, and we are delighted that you and almost 400 equity champions from all over the state of Missouri and the country are with us today.
That's right, Sam. We have almost 400 registrants today. So we are very excited about this summit, and we're so glad that you're here with us. So as we kick things off, we'd like to know where you're joining us from. So let's light up the chat box with our first interactive question. What institution or organization are you from? You'll see this question come across the chat. And as we watch those responses roll in, maybe you'll see someone you know or want to connect with. So before we get started, we have a few reminders about how to get the most out of this virtual event. All participants should stay muted to eliminate background noise. We want to see your faces, so if you have a camera, turn it on to better engage with us. All presentations will be live, so bear with us on any technical issues. The chat will be monitored for questions throughout the presentations. If you enter a session and decide it's not for you, please close it out and head to a different session, just like you would at an in-person conference. We have our new conference website, and so you can easily move from place to place, just like you would in an in-person conference. All sessions will be recorded, so you'll be able to access them after the conference. And don't forget to engage with us on social media throughout the day using hashtag Equity2021 and @MoDude, and on our new conference website.
And now it is my pleasure to welcome Commissioner of Higher Education, Zora Mulligan.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to kick this event off. As Sam and Sarah said, we have almost 400 registrants for the total event, and so we're absolutely delighted again in the recognition that that number of participants reflects in terms of the importance of our work. So as Sam said, I lead the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. Our team has been working hard to do a better job of serving a broader and more diverse group of Missourians since the new department was established in 2019. The department's vision is every Missourian empowered with the skills and education needed for success. And that word every has been very, very important to us as we think about the work of this new agency. For us, it means Missourians of different races, regions, genders, and socioeconomic status, and we really have worked hard to build strategies that will drive success in all of those categories. It also means Missourians who are interested in different post-secondary paths. The new Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development was one of the byproducts of an effort called Talent for Tomorrow, which we led in partnership with the Department of Economic Development. And that was an initiative that involved a lot of conversations with people around the state to find out what their perspective was in terms of what our state needs for the workforce of tomorrow. And we heard a lot of kind of desperate pleas, frankly, from people around the state for the state to do a better job of providing opportunities for a more diverse group of Missourians, not just those students who sit in a high school classroom and have a school counselor come in and tell them that they should go to college and they're probably ready for it, but adults in particular, people who are part of the incumbent workforce, individuals who are already working, but really need to skill up in order to advance in their jobs and have more security. Excuse me. And so, this has been a big part of what we do. Not only do we focus on, differences of individuals, but we focus on different pathways. So everything from apprenticeships, certificates, associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, graduate, professional, and beyond. They're all essential to what we need to succeed in the state of Missouri. And we do what we can in the department to kind of clear the path to all of these life-changing opportunities. So, a lot of people don't have a super clear idea of what a state agency can do. Lots of people have a good idea of what we should do, and we try to strike an appropriate balance between those two things. I'm an attorney by trade, and so I always like to remind people that state agencies are creatures of state statute, which means that we do what the legislature tells us to do through state law. And so our ability and our powers are not infinite, but we do everything we can within that footprint of the state laws that we're asked to administer and implement to try to do so in a way that's equitable on all of those axes that I just outlined. So our role really is, funding every coordinating board of higher education, and we've got lots of colleagues who represent those organizations participating in this event. We all were founded with the idea that we need to do a better job as states of allocating resources to our highest needs. And so funding is a very big part of what we do. We also work in policy. So, there are state laws, and those laws are what they are, but we also have the ability to create regulations or policies that give color to those laws and help us, fill them out, again, in a way that we think is more detailed and more equity-oriented than not. We also, do a lot of work in partnerships, and this event is such a great example of the importance of those partnerships. And then last but not least, data. It's a really, really big part of what we do. So I'll talk a little bit more about each of those categories. I don't want to filibuster, but I do just want to kind of illustrate the seriousness with which we take this topic. When it comes to funding, that's probably the most visible work that our agency does. We present the higher education budget and the workforce development budget to the governor and to the General Assembly. And so we get, in some ways, kind of the first word in terms of what our priorities should be. They then decide what to do with our recommendations, and it's always, you always wish they would take more of your recommendations forward, but we've also worked to do what we can through channels other than that regular appropriation process, which do rely so exclusively on political support. And so just for example, over the last 18 months, everyone has been so focused on COVID response. Our department had an opportunity to receive a significant allocation of funds through the CARES Act that we were able to allocate to colleges and universities to help them bring students, faculty, and staff back to campus safely last fall. We believe very, very strongly that continuity was absolutely essential, and especially essential for students at the greatest risk of not completing. And so we put a lot of energy, both through funding and through conversations and partnerships, to bringing students back to campus safely. So when we did that, we had the opportunity to develop an allocation model, and we used a model that weighted students who have financially need very heavily. And so that's an example of doing what we can within the context of our statutory authority to approach things equitably. Another big thing that we do in terms of funding allocations is a program called MoExcels, which was another product of Talent for Tomorrow. MoExcels is one-time grant funding to public colleges and universities to establish or expand programs that lead to work in high-demand occupations. And so that is based on a grant application that is tied to a rubric that weights service to underserved Missourians very heavily. And so, again, it's just another example of doing what we can within our statutory authority, to do things in a way that's fair to students who need some additional help. I also will give us credit for trying. This might not be so popular, but, we put forward that request for funding for public colleges and universities. Missouri has an approach to funding that is fairly policy absent. We have what's called a base plus model, which means that all institutions get the same % increase or decrease in general every year, regardless of what kind of students they enroll or what the success of those individuals is. We have worked in recent years to try to provide a better model that might be adopted by the appropriators. We haven't been successful, but we've had some really good conversations and put forward models that I think have been important, frankly. And so, those have, weighted students who have financial need, for example. They've also attempted to address a challenge that we always face when we talk about equitable funding for higher education in Missouri, and that's the awkward reality that on paper, our minority-serving institutions have higher per-student funding, when in fact we know that those institutions are not rolling in dough and really could use additional assistance. So the model was not ultimately accepted, but it was really, really good work, and I think that, we're all just kind of waiting and listening for the next opportunity from a governor or a General Assembly to put forward a model for funding higher education in a new way. In terms of student financial aid, that's also another area in which we do a lot of work, and it's very high profile. We have, several programs, and I'm sure you'll hear from our legislative panelists about their views of those programs. I will say that our program that is aimed at students with financial need, Access Missouri, is the only program where we're trying to increase award amounts this year. So for the other programs, we're trying to maintain current award levels, but Access Missouri is a really strong focus for us because we know, that financial resources to financially needy students are really, really critical. And so I'm proud of the work that we're doing there. So that's funding. I could talk for a long time about all of the ups and downs of trying to do funding better in Missouri. But policy is another really important area that we work in a lot. And so, that is, kind of doing the work that touches institutions and encourages them to do a better job in terms of student success. We've done great work in this over the years. Both Math Pathways and Co-Rec at Scale have had a big impact on student success, and that's especially for students who have historically completed at lower levels. So we're really proud in the demonstrable positive impacts of those two initiatives. Another really big and important one is Core 42, which is the transfer curriculum that allows students to transfer from one institution to another more easily. And by more easily, I mean more efficiently. They take more of their credits with them because there's much, much greater transparency in terms of what's going to transfer. I look at something like Core 42 and I see it as a really kind of a fundamental attack on inequity. One of the big realities that we learn when we talk with students from diverse backgrounds or the faculty, staff, or institutions who serve them is that there is, kind of a secret to college success, that students who come to school with parents who've been successful in college already know, but students who don't have that background or that resource might not know as much about how to transfer successfully. And so this, in my mind, kind of levels that playing field by making things much, much easier to understand. Third category, just partnerships. This is, again, a huge part of what we do. As a state agency, we not only have limited powers, but we have limited financial resources and very, very limited people power. And so by working in partnership with organizations around the state, we're able to really amplify our own impact and to help, participate in and sometimes even lead conversations that align with our department's vision and with our longer term goals. So, clearly our higher education institution partners are critical in all of the work that we do. Us understanding and respecting the work that they do is an important aspect of the department's work. We also work with college access organizations around the state, and that's, I would say most people would agree, it's kind of one of the more fun parts of the job. There's so much positive energy and so much momentum and optimism on the part of lots of different kinds of organizations, whether they're professionally staffed or primarily volunteer. It is really, really energizing to talk with the people in the organizations who work directly with the kinds of students that we're trying to serve. So that's an amazing partnership. And then last but not least, in more material ways, we have really put a lot of energy into partnerships to expand access to apprenticeships and to certificates, because we know that for a lot of people, those shorter term credentials where you may have an opportunity to earn while you learn are going to be really important as we try to reach more adults and more diverse Missourians. And so, examples are like the Missouri Chamber of Commerce has a tech apprenticeship grant that we're working, to help and support. It's a partnership with Cerner, which is a big employer in Kansas City. They're enrolling record numbers of women in their apprenticeship programs. We're also partnering with organizations like the Urban League to help build pre-apprenticeship programs, which are excellent pathways into apprenticeship programs and really good opportunities for lots of different kinds of students. We work actively, again, with some of the labor organizations. So the Carpenters Union out of St. Louis has a program called Building Union Diversity. Again, working in a material way to increase kind of on-ramps for people with diverse backgrounds. And then last but not least, Bass Pro and others in the hospitality industry in the Springfield and Branson region are providing apprenticeship opportunities to individuals who have disabilities. And so, again, just thinking about broadening these pathways to success through strategic partnerships with great organizations is a really big part of what the life and the work of the new organization looks like. And then last but not least, I mentioned that providing data is just a big part of what we do here at the department. I am action-oriented. I like most of our work to be leading to some kind of tangible result. But for us, a tangible result is also, providing information to spark a conversation or providing information that local organizations can use to make the case more effectively to local funders that their work should be supported. Data is a big part of what brings us together for, this summit. The equity report, the annual equity report, is really a cornerstone of this annual event. And I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the work and thank the team that's worked so incredibly hard to pull this together. You'll see a lot of Sam and Sarah over the next 3 days, but there's a team who's done the writing and the data work and the survey work that has, kind of driven the success of this annual report. And so the Office of Post-Secondary Policy team has all done a lot to make this report successful and meaningful. They've also had huge assistance from our comms and performance and strategy team. So I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the tremendous work that our group has done to put not only this event together, but the report that underpins it. So this year's report is a little bit different for those who've been with us for each of the three series that we've done here. We've always had a lot of data because we here at the department love data, period. We look at data all the time. We talk about data all the time. We try to figure out what we can do with the data that we're looking at. But this year there's another layer that I think is a really important addition to the story. So you'll hear more about this in tomorrow's opening session, but I just wanted to take a minute to kind of preview. We surveyed about 10,000 Missouri college students about affordability, and so we were able to get much more interesting and rich information about the struggles that they face. And it's everything from tuition and fees to housing, utilities, food, and transportation. Those stories are what led to the building of this agenda around this information and kind of the stories that we've heard from students. So again, I'm just excited about this new perspective. So it's a lot. I'm talking a lot and I apologize. But again, I just can't underscore how important this work is to me personally and to us as a department. You know, the old Department of Higher Education that I was hired to lead back in 2016 was working toward a big goal of having 60% of Missourians have a degree or certificate by 2025. We have done a lot of work to increase graduation rates, as have the institutions that we work with day in and day out. We've made very, very, very slow progress toward that big goal. As I think a lot of states have learned, you know, when you adopt a goal that is based on a percent of the population, you're working against a lot of things. And in Missouri, as well as throughout the Midwest, we're working against some demographic challenges that make that attainment goal very, very hard. But even in the course of that slow progress on the percent goal, we've made tremendous progress on other, you know, kind of indicators. And so, for example, our public universities are graduating about 13% more students than they were in 2014. Community colleges are graduating almost 9% more. The number of minority students graduating is up 22.4%. And so again, even as, you know, we kind of wring our hands about slow progress towards the big goal, there's a lot to celebrate. Our department is very proud to have had some role in making that progress, but we really, really want to take our hats off to the institutions and to the organizations that have really done the work that drives that success. So we're currently in the process of developing a new strategic plan for the new departments. I've learned there is no faster way to clear a room than tell people you want to talk about your new strategic plan, so I promise that I'm not going to. My most important role here today is really just to thank my team for the work that they've done, to thank our partners, and also to welcome some VIPs. So I want to welcome the Education Strategy Group, New America, HCM strategists, members of other higher education boards from across the country. I'm not going to name all the names of our luminaries, but we've got a lot of really great people and organizations who are represented here today. But if Sarah needs me to read the list, I can. She should give me a thumbs up or a thumbs up. Okay, very good. I also just wanted to welcome the members of the Missouri General Assembly who are going to be joining us for a panel discussion later this morning. I think you will hear that we're not afraid to take criticism, and we will certainly have some expressed. You know, we've got legislators who have very, very strong, passionate commitments to the work that we do and very strong opinions about the way we need to be doing it better. It's hard to hear because sometimes we're asked or invited to consider doing things that have a very low probability of success or that are outside of our statutory authority. But I want to welcome Senator Brian Williams, Representative Kevin Windham, Representative Brenda Shields, Senator Greg Razor, and Representative Rusty Black. So I now have the pleasure of introducing the 57th governor of the state of Missouri, Governor Mike Parson. Governor Parson has been laser focused on workforce development as well as infrastructure since his very first day in office. He's got a strong commitment for helping lots of different kind of people find success after high school, and he's really committed again to the idea of breadth in terms of who we serve, and he's encouraging us to reach out to organizations to find out again what we can do to help the people they serve learn more effectively after high school. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Governor Mike Parson. Well, as Sarah and Sam work on the audio, I can tell a bad story about myself. It's not really that bad of a story, but during Talent for Tomorrow, we were on the road all the time and doing a ton of speaking. Governor Parson had just assumed office at about the time of a big convening that we did in St. Louis, and it was kind of a big day. There was a lot of pressure, and at the end of it, the governor was going to come in and speak. And so my counterpart in DEC and I were on the stage, and we were kind of vamping as we waited for the governor to arrive and waiting for somebody to give us a signal. And somebody gave what we thought was a signal. We said, proud to welcome Governor Mike Parson. Crowd claps, no governor. It was a long afternoon. So Sarah and Sam, this is not the first time that such a thing has occurred. Give me the sign when you guys are ready for the governor's remarks. Sounds like now, okay.
I'm Governor Mike Parson. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2021 Equity Summit. I appreciate all of the educators, advocates, and thought leaders being here this week to help us work to improve higher education here in Missouri. Training and education provides individuals with the knowledge and skills they need to be successful in today's global economy. Here in Missouri, we want everyone to have opportunities for success. All students, regardless of race or family income, should have the support they need to go to college and get into their chosen careers. That's why I'm proud of the work Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development and our partners like you throughout the state are doing to help make college more available for all Missourians. I hope this week's conference gives you energy and enthusiasm you can take back to your own communities across the state. Help us make a positive impact on the students you serve to create a brighter future for all Missourians. Thank you again for being here and being engaged. Enjoy your week. It is an honor and privilege to be the 57th governor of the great state of Missouri. God bless.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you both to Commissioner Mulligan and to Governor Parson for your support of our equity initiatives. I want to also take this moment to thank MOCAN, the Missouri College Access Network, for sponsoring our department's new conference landing site, eduvents.dhewd.mo.gov. MOCAN's mission to increase college and career readiness, preparation, access, and completion in Missouri, particularly for the underrepresented and underserved, aligns with the work our department is doing, and we really appreciate its support. Let me explain a little bit more about how this event is going to go. Each day of the 3-day summit will begin with an opening plenary, followed by a keynote speaker, and then 2 rounds of concurrent breakout sessions. Today and Wednesday will close with a panel discussion, and on Thursday, the event will close with a keynote speaker. But don't worry if you can't decide which one to pick, because all of our presentations will be recorded and posted on the conference landing site and the MDHEWD website. You can access all of the sessions, learn about the presenters, and connect with attendees using our conference landing site, which will be posted in the chat. And up next is our keynote speaker, Martha Snyder, so stay right here for that.